I'm bad, and that's good. I will never be good, and that's not bad. There's no one I'd rather be than me.
Hey everyone, we are just leaving Wreck-It Ralph, which we just watched in a movie theater, as one is prone to do. We enjoyed it. The end.
What one's prone to do if you have money or connections like we do.
We have connection. We definitely don't have money, but Nick has a friend who works at this very movie theater, so we got to see it.
Thank you, Krista.
Thank you indeed.
See me at all.
Getting in for free meant we could see it in 3D without having to waste money on 3D. And the 3D was pretty good.
Yeah, I had a headache by the end, but that's just because of me getting a headache from 3D, not because the 3D was actually bad.
Couple thoughts. I've already seen some vlogs on this, so I know a lot of people had the same thoughts, but, you know, we expected more game hopping. We expected a little bit more with licensed characters. But, I don't know, I kind of like that they focused more on the original story and still had the gags. Like, the focus was on the original characters. They still had the cameos and the gags from other games.
Well, really the thing about the licensed characters is the fact that it all happened at the beginning. And then they didn't bring in any new licensed character gags later on.
Sure,
So after the first 40 minutes, when you really get into the meat of the plot, that's when they stopped doing character gags. And I feel like had they brought in some more after that point, they would have been doubly funny because we wouldn't be expecting them anymore because we're focusing on the plot and stuff. But
yeah,
that's just me. Like, it didn't suffer for not having that. It just could have been, just a little bit better. But I thought it was great.
Yeah, I was like, we had a lot of Sonic at the beginning, like, both sometimes in the background, and Sonic also has a line towards the beginning.
Oh, I thought you meant we ate Sonic. I was about to say, no, we didn't go to Sonic beforehand.
Although that brings up an interesting point.
That there are Sonics in Connecticut now, and we haven't gone to one, like, ever?
Well, that too, but also the fact that the movie had a lot more non-game product placement than I expected. Like when the two kids are playing Candy Rush, and they've got the Subway cup right there in the foreground.
I missed that.
And
because I'm the observant person.
And also when like the Nesquik sand. That was the other thing. It felt like
I'm okay with product placement if they're jokes.
I'm okay with that too.
Nesquik sand was awesome. The Mentos were awesome. I'm okay with any product placement if it's a joke.
Well, and
it works.
I'm not complaining about the product placement. I just like the trailer was like, this is the video game joke movie. But then they get into Sugar Rush, and suddenly, this is the candy joke movie. It's like, it felt like they crammed in a lot of gags from an unproduced Candyland screenplay and just crammed them into,
I'm not gonna lie, when they first wound up in Sugar Rush, I thought it was gonna be a Candyland video game. I'm like, how the hell are they gonna pull that off?
And again, it's not that they were bad jokes or even that they felt out of place in the thing, but when, like, the second half of the movie, basically, maybe even more than that, they're mostly in Sugar Rush, and,
I'd say about 60 to 65% of the movie.
And, again, good stuff, but it also felt like Sugar Rush could have been its own self-contained kids movie.
I mean, it could have, but it wouldn't have been a good one.
Not as good, but...
Like, yeah.
But all those jokes felt like... Really, every different game world felt like its own different game world, which...
Sorry, finish.
Which was a good thing, but it also meant you almost felt like these came from different ideas they were meshing together at points.
See, that's the one thing, the thing I really liked early on was that each different video game had its own set of stakes. So it wasn't like you're keeping your eye on the prize through all, 4 or 5 or whatever games that you wind up in. Like, each game has its own set of stakes. So when you're in, Wreck-It Ralph, he's concerned about, I want to get up on the building where everyone is. I want to be with everyone. When you get into the obvious Halo parody, it's, don't die, kill the bugs! And then when you get into, Sugar Rush, you completely forget that 5 minutes ago you were concerned for your life and that the world was about to end. And you're like, oh yeah, the most important thing right now is getting a single gold coin in order to race a polka-dotted, sugar-covered car across a finish line. Like, they really did a good job of creating the worlds with their own sets of values.
That was the other thing. We talked about licensed cameos. There weren't a lot of licensed cameos towards the end, but they had gags referencing specific games. Like, Sugar Rush had a lot of Mario Kart gags. Like, especially, like, just at the beginning where the one girl go too early and she's like spinning out at the starting line.
I missed that. Oh man, that's. No, I remember that happening. I missed that. That's what that was.
You didn't make the connection.
I was on the edge of my seat, wondering if well, I'm not gonna spoil what was going on, but wondering if they were gonna make it or not. I missed the joke.
Well, but you were also the one who caught all the Star Fox quotes at the end.
There's a scene that's entirely Star Fox villain quotes. And the first go, I'm like, these are all things that video game characters would say. And then I'm like, no, these are all Star Fox 64. Every single one of these is Star Fox 64.
That was the part where it felt the most like a press start movie, you know? That's like for most, like we've all, those of us in the, those of us who...
Anyone who's watching this who isn't like related to us.
Yeah, you all know Ed Glazer. You've all been thinking, it's like a press start movie except animated. But really, it doesn't feel like that so much because it's actually in a video game world and because they're actually using the real video games. It's not like, press start is very much creating a world that's just where all the video games happen to take place, whereas this is actually physically in the video game world. So it's more like a, it's more like...
By in the video game world, it's set in this world on the other side of the glass.
Right, and it's one specific arcade. So it's like all around the world there could be other Fix-It Felix Jr. games. We know there are other, Pac-Man games elsewhere in the world. It's very much...
I think my overall thing, the first 40 minutes was much better at comedy in terms of it had lots of detail work that's going to give it rewatchability. And then the last hour or whatever was really good on the actually making you care about the characters and pulling on the heartstrings. And I heard this guy starting to cry at one point.
Yeah.
I know I was tearing up. It would they took something ridiculous and then at a certain point, you were just like, but I'm crying. This doesn't make sense. It's just, I'm looking at CGI images of frosting flying. Why am I crying?
Had a lot.
That's it.
They had a lot of subtle things where things would splat and they'd be pixelated.
So good. The difference in the that's one of the attention to detail things. The levels of effort they put into each of the characters to be from their video game, even in other video games, was great.
Yeah, only Felix and Ralph from Fix-It Felix really have full animation, and that's only because they're the main characters.
Right.
Everyone else is very limited animation.
And so even when they're doing movements that they would never do in the game, like drinking a martini, they do it with the limited range of motion that their actions in the game permit them.
They really thought through, at least from the best of my observation, they really thought through the Game Central Station, the world, how it all,
absolutely.
If you can accept that the pixelated characters are moving through the power cords and not through some sort of Ethernet, once you get past that, then you really buy, yes, this is how the video game world, and they thought through everything. It's well, how are they controlling the characters? Oh, well, they showed it, and it's different in the first-person shooter. It's different. It's
the first-person shooter was so good.
And they really I didn't have any unanswered questions about how this world works, which I think is more than I can say about Toy Story.
Yeah, no, it was. I don't know if I agree with the Toy Story comment, but honestly, it really knew its world. It respected the characters, respected the reality it created.
It was much more fully developed than I think it even needed to be.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Even down to the little characters who walk in and out, even the human characters, the girl who's playing Wreck-It Ralph had a little bit, I don't know if I'd call it an arc, but she had a character.
Yeah.
And so did the guy who owned the place. And I don't know, everything about it was just great.
I would say, the characters inhabiting the world and just the rules of the world is just everything. I was impressed by how, they showed their work when thinking it all out. I will say, the most unrealistic thing to me was the thought that those annoying teenagers who wouldn't let the girl play would be that obsessed with playing Sugar Rush.
Yeah. Okay, fair.
I mean, once they had played it, maybe, but if it's really that good a racing game, but getting into it's like...
I think maybe it was just the new game?
Maybe.
I don't know, I'm guessing.
I feel like the stereotype of the stereotype that those people were, I would just expect them to be like, no, we're not going to play a pig game.
Maybe playing the first-person shooter.
Yeah. Which, by the way, perfect casting in this movie.
Oh my god.
John C. Reilly sounds more like Paul F. Tompkins' impression of John C. Reilly than ever. Jack McBrayer, you know. Jane Lynch, I will gladly see Jane Lynch in anything that's not Glee.
You made me watch Jane Lynch in Glee.
No, Lizzie made you watch it. I just videotaped it.
Good point. Alan Tudyk does an amazing villain again.
Yes, Alan Tudyk as Evil Edwin.
So good.
And that little sucker of his was basically an underdeveloped Kif Kroker. Dennis Hasbert's cameo as Dennis Hasbert. Like, welcome to, like, you are a hero, blah, 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 blah. And, again, you know, lots of video game cameos. I've made this joke a million times already, but I really regret that Dennis Hopper didn't live long enough to play Bowser.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Sonic. I think I saw in the credits Sonic was played by like the guy who plays him in the games, and not by Jaleel White, who played him in all of the animated series. But that's because Urkel.
That's appropriate because it's the game.
Yes, and Urkel doesn't need more paychecks. Paperman, the short, that was great.
Oh my goodness, Paperman. That was like. There were only one or two moments where you could tell it wasn't a Pixar short. Like. And the fact that the overall tone wasn't as colorful as Pixar, because it was a sepia tone. But honestly, conceptually, think night and day of Pixar.
Yes, very similar, especially with its sort of like blend of like 2D and 3D sort of animation.
Yeah.
Sort of deal. Except blended differently than in Night and Day. It was sort of like the beginning was like. The beginning of the show was sort of like the beginning of Up-ish in its tone. Then it almost becomes like an homage to the Red Balloon, that sort of that sort of thing. Which
the Red Balloon, when you rewatch it, honestly, I'm speculating because I haven't rewatched it yet, even though it's in my Hulu queue. The ending's kind of creepy as hell.
Balloons taking away the kid.
Yeah, no, because it's not like, oh, and they lift him up and he's flying. It's, why are balloons stealing my child? I let him go for 5 minutes. He was playing with a red balloon. Why are the balloons stealing my child?
Well, anyway, I don't know for a fact, but I'm assuming the fact that he's sitting next to a kid with a balloon on the train was an intentional homage.
Oh, probably. See, that mother knew how to take care of her kid. She grabs him away. I know, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, anyway. Point being,
So yeah, Paperman was good, Wreck-It Ralph was good.
So, for best animated film this year, it's gonna be Brave, Wreck-It Ralph, and I don't know, is there another animated film out?
Well, there were those...
I mean, there are others, but...
There were all the horror one, the mock horror ones. Hotel
Transylvania.
Frank and Weenie might get it. Hotel Transylvania won't, because it's too cartoony. It won't get the Oscar. Paranorman, I don't know. Is it Paranorman even out yet?
I don't know, but that's I think has a better shot than Frank and Weenie. Actually, Frank and Weenie's Tim Burton, so maybe.
It's Tim Burton, but I think...
Tim Burton's out of his prime.
Yeah,
so
most people have stopped liking Tim Burton, and that might be true of the Academy as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I know the Academy didn't like Alice in Wonderland or
right,
any of that.
But that's not his animated stuff. His last animated thing was Corpse Bride, right?
That's true. Corpse Bride got a nomination.
And that only lost because it went up against Wallace and Gromit. So it's like, which also had Helena Bonham Carter.
Yes. So, final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I thought it was compelling. I loved it. I honestly think it held together better as a movie than Brave. I don't know if the individual components I loved as much as Brave, so I don't know which I'd say is better overall, but I thought as a film it held together better.
Now I remember the one scene I didn't like.
Okay.
The first scene was Sarah Silverman's character, where they do every cliche from every "here's an annoying little kid" scene in every movie.
Right down to the voice.
Right down to the, like, she starts mimicking him. Like, they do every single one. Like, she says something like, "I wouldn't do that if I were you," and then something wacky happens, and that scene was... It didn't even feel out of place. It's just that this is every single cliche that every movie, every time anyone meets a little kid, right down to Mitchell, when Mitchell's arguing with the kid. It's...
Yeah, I forgot it. Yeah, you're right. But she is a glitch. So we could accept that she's just a compilation of cliches in that first moment.
Well, and there are other things, like, there were so many other cliches, especially video game cliches, that they did for laughs, like Jane Lynch's backstory.
Oh my
which
God.
was the best thing ever.
Yeah, no, they...
So there's no way they didn't know they were being cliche. I just think they could have had more...
Made it better.
Or made it more of a joke that it was the cliche instead of just being annoying. Overall, I liked Sarah Silverman as the little kid.
Yeah, she was really good.
And, yeah, like I said, the whole cast was fantastic. Yeah, good animated flick. Go see it.
I concur.